CKNW's Chief Executive Series is presented by Fortis BC, energy solutions for every customer.
Thank you. We just want to first off thank you for being here. You got off a plane at 1 o'clock this morning.
Yeah. I just got back from London, so a little jet lagged, you know.
No kidding. Yeah. But, okay. Well, we'll try to go
I'm
easy.
awake. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, good. So we'll just get started here and get right into the show.
Great.
Welcome to the CEO series. We are at the Beedie School of Business at SFU, and we're brought to you by Fortis BC. Our guest today is Shahrzad Rafati, the CEO of BroadbandTV. Shahrzad, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
How would you describe BroadbandTV?
BroadbandTV, we are a media and technology company, and we help content owners and content creators of all sizes to become more successful online. And when you're looking at the company, there are really three key components to the business. There's the network where we aggregate content and we acquire rights from various different content owners, and we distribute their assets across popular online platforms like YouTube. There is the technology where we have built a SaaS platform, Catalyst, which is really to catalyze success and growth for our partners, and services, which is helping content owners with monetization and channel management and partner experience.
Okay, so essentially what you're saying is that back when everybody was just throwing cat videos on YouTube for the heck of it because it was fun, you looked at that and thought, I think we can do better.
Yes, I think it was even before that. I think it was the first time I went to CES in Vegas. There were not a lot of, I was in school, and I kind of saw this whole evolution with distribution of audio and accessibility, and I thought the next evolution is going to be around video. And we wanted to be part of that. And this was before YouTube, so we started focusing on acquiring rights, packaging rights, and we formed a relationship with this company in Taiwan that had a kind of a device that had capability to stream video content. And we became the first IPTV provider in Canada. And soon enough, within 3 to 6 months, I realized that this is not a scalable model. And I tried to tell entrepreneurs, go after large pools of opportunity. And I wanted to make sure that as we kind of look at, players coming to the market from likes of YouTube, where you have ability to stream content online, or at the time it was Microsoft Media Center, now you have Netflix, we play a part. And we're kind of that connector, that glue that allows these platforms and content creators on these platforms become successful. So that was, and YouTube was one of the biggest players because we kind of saw the amount of traction and viewership on YouTube, and we formed a strategic partnership with Google right after they acquired YouTube.
Okay, and you came up with that while you were still in school?
Yes, I kind of,
How?
I'm not sure. I think, I think it's always about following your passion and doing what you absolutely love. And coming from Iran, where content was rationed, we had access to a limited number of channels, and being a technologist, I studied computer science, I always was fascinated about making an impact, making content available and accessible to democratizing content, which is what YouTube really did. And we wanted to be part of it, and we wanted to make these creators successful.
And yet you saw a way of monetizing that when a lot of people thought that there wasn't a way to monetize content on the internet because everybody expected it for free.
I really believed in the method of distribution and consumption. I really believe that that's going to happen, and I, the first 2 years, 3 years of BroadbandTV was hard because we were not really monetizing any of the traffic. But it's about, as an entrepreneur, you really need to believe in the medium, and you need to believe in, hey, I have a vision, and I have a, I had a really, I believed in that vision, and really knew that this is going to happen. And because when the consumption is there, ad dollars always follow the eyeballs. And we wanted to kind of manage and be the kind of one of the premium players in that space.
Was there a moment when you realized, okay, this is what we should be doing? Like, where did that kind of germ for the idea come from?
Oh, this is such a good question. I would say conceptually, it was right at the beginning because I saw this whole, like iTunes changed the whole thing with audio, and I thought, well, you know, someone's going to do, you know, with respect to video and accessibility video content, and I think at the beginning you had a lot of players that were just trying different things. As far as once we started the business, in terms of our, you know, when we launched a multi-channel network and we got to the first 100 million views, I thought we got something scalable.
You think so? Maybe
Yeah,
100
I
million
think
views?
100 million views, yeah, that was, no, because you know, you know, you have a lot of players that get to 50 million, 60 million, we're now at close to 3 billion monthly views, right? I think you really need to make sure that you're, I'm a big fan of scale. And I think I really felt that this is scalable once we hit the 100 million views. I thought, okay, you know what? We have a proven track record. We know what we're doing. We understand the actual value proposition. We keep constantly work on that value proposition. It's not like you actually figure out the value proposition and you say, I figured it out and this is it. No, 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 no. Things change. Consumption methods change. So you need to constantly think about new ways that you can actually help the partners. But I have to say it was the first 100 million.
Okay, well, that's a good point to start then. What was that first meeting like when you had this idea and you wanted to make it work and you thought, okay, well, we have to partner up with somebody, we have to convince somebody that our idea is going to work. But that first company where you said, listen, this is what we can do for you, what was that like?
You know, it was, you're asking a lot of good questions.
That's my job.
You know, I was an immigrant, so I learned English when I was 17. As you can tell, my English is not that great. But going to these meetings and not knowing the jargon and not being able to speak the language properly, and it was a bit of a challenge. So I'm a minority. I'm a woman in tech. You know, there's a lot of limitations. And when you go to the meeting, you're young, so you go to a meeting with someone that is very much older than you, and you got to really convince that they got to take you seriously. And I think, you know, I went to these meetings being very prepared and knowing what I was talking about, and not to be arrogant at all, but this is, I guess, my advice for other entrepreneurs. You know, if you know your stuff and if you're prepared, then you should have no fear. And this wasn't, the first meeting was at MIPCOM, and it was with a media partner. They're still our, you know, partner today. And I was quite nervous because I wanted us to get the biggest partners on board first. So I went after, you know, Googles of the world, MBAs of the world, because I thought if you get to actually get those biggest partners on board, then everybody else would follow. And it made it more challenging, but I think it's the right approach.
And you can't help but notice that getting the NBA on board was kind of a key factor for BroadbandTV. It was like all of a sudden everybody got noticed. What was the key to landing that deal?
I think first it was landing the deal with Google. Because we wanted to be a strategic partner of Google, and this is right after they acquired YouTube. And you know, I was at a conference. I found the right person, and I shared our vision and what we were doing. And you know, at this time we were on a few other platforms. We were on about 9 other platforms, none of them nearly as large as Google. And they felt that we are also a trailblazer, and we're really kind of trying to advance the industry. And this is why it's very important to pick the right partners. One of the reasons why BroadbandTV is so successful today is because of those strategic partnerships. And then after Google, we signed a few other media deals. One of them was with Envision, which is one of the largest Spanish partners, content providers in the world. And they really trusted us because we had the right products, we had the right partnerships. And then I thought, you know, we want to go after the biggest sports league, and it was the NBA. And they are by far, again, when you look at at that time, they were one of the most savvy, and they were really embracing the new solutions and technologies. And what we did is we removed all the risk factors away from the decision that they had to make. So we said, hey, listen, we believe in this so much that we're willing to pay you to get you as a partner.
Must have worked. It worked really well for you. Okay, we'll have more with Shahrzad Rafati when we come back.
Whether building a deck, installing a fence, or landscaping, remember to call BC One Call before starting any digging project. Don't be on the hook for costly repairs or risk your safety.
Welcome to the CEO series at the Beedie School of Business at SFU, brought to you by Fortis BC. Our guest today is Shahrzad Rafati, the CEO of BroadbandTV. Shahrzad, thank you so much for being here. How many employees do you have now at BroadbandTV?
At Broadband, we have about 160 people in Vancouver, and we have about another 50 internationally.
Okay. What do you look for when you hire somebody? I know that the first time you had money, you said, and you were able to hire employees, that was a big jump, right? That was a big hire. What do you look for?
I would say we look at a few different things. Number one is a right culture fit. And, you know, we built this great culture at BroadbandTV, and now we're more protective than ever before because every person that we add, we want to make sure they're very entrepreneurial, that they're not afraid to take a risk, that they're, you know, they want to think outside the box. We have 4 values at BroadbandTV. It's creativity, innovation, drive, and care. So anyone that we really hire, we want to make sure they have those 4 values in them. I think the second is attitude. Is having the right attitude. I think you could be extremely capable and intelligent, but if you don't have the right attitude, it's just not going to work. And then third, I would go with capability, potential, and we're in a new industry. Nothing is defined, so you can't hire someone that has 20 years of experience in what we do. So it's a lot to do with their potential and capability. We have a very young team, but extremely great culture, very great attitude, very intelligent and capable. And last would be expertise, but I think I would actually go in that order.
Sounds like, though, you have to put a little bit of faith in somebody that you hire because they'll develop with the company.
Yes, and I think the other part of it is we also want to make sure people within the company develop and they take on different roles. We have
no set role.
It depends. It depends on the individual. We definitely want to give them a platform where they can grow. And if we had people from the ops team that would end up in sales, or from sales and marketing, and we want to see more of that. We can do a lot more to improve it. But and then we have hired obviously senior people within, let's say, different departments, from ad sales to communication to marketing and everything else. But I think overall, I prefer culture, attitude, potential more than expertise.
Right. It sounds like you need flexibility too if you want people to cross over. So don't have one particular area in mind that you want to work in.
For certain roles, yeah, for sure.
Okay. Was that difficult when your company did start to expand and all of a sudden there were a lot more people that you had to rely on to make your vision happen? Was that a difficult thing to let go of?
I think as an entrepreneur, if you want to be a successful one, you need to grow and you need to learn to delegate. And more importantly, you need to be able to clearly communicate your vision to everyone. I think this is probably the most important thing in terms of having a clear vision and taking everyone on that journey and communicating that vision with everyone. And I think you need to, hire smarter people than you. Surround yourself with people that know what they're doing. They're specifically and expert in what they do, and delegate and have trust in them. And especially with us, I tell everyone, we're all about quick failures. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Just don't make the same mistakes twice.
Or for very long.
No, or for too long, yeah.
Fix it quickly.
Yes.
What do you think then has worked for you? Is it the drive, do you think? Because you talked about being a woman in tech. Everybody talks about how difficult that is these days. What made people listen to you, do you think?
It's the confidence and the energy and the drive. I think it's if you are in an environment where you're dealing with a lot of people that are more senior than you, more experienced, and in they come from a traditional world, and you're trying to be a disruptor, and you have to say, hey, listen, why don't you embrace this new world? you really need to be able to properly educate your vision. I mean, educate them and, you know, communicate your vision and have the drive and confidence.
So is there a reason why you kept the company based here in Vancouver then and say not have that office or build the company around Silicon Valley or anything like that?
This was a challenge, especially when we were doing a round of financing, because a lot of the investors, as we know, Vancouver is not very necessarily, or I should say Canada, we have great angel investors. But in terms of VCs and growth equity funds, we don't have access to a lot of that. And when we were doing that round of financing, it was challenging because all those bigger guys are in Bay Area, they're in New York, they're in LA. But I knew from day one that I wanted to make sure I keep the company in Vancouver. That decision was made, and I think this is a great city, and you know, a lot of, I think there are a few of the companies in the tech space, especially where we're trying to build the next Bay Area. Like, you know, just kind of we have great minds in Vancouver, and I worked very hard to make sure we get an investor that is okay with that, okay with us building you know, our company out of Vancouver.
And why were you so committed to staying in Vancouver? Was that personal, family, or what was it?
I don't have family here, but you know, I mean, my brother lives here, but my parents don't live here. But I love this city. I love this city. I'm a proud Canadian, and I believe in the talent that we have here locally, and the city has given us a lot of opportunity. And it's just about, you know, kind of returning that and, you know, investing in where we live.
All right, on that note, we will be back with more from Shahrzad Rafati. All right, welcome. You are listening to the CEO series for the Beedie School of Business at SFU, and it's brought to you by Fortis BC. Our guest today is the CEO of BroadbandTV, Shahrzad Rafati. She is telling us some great stories about really making it work in the tech world, which is just so incredibly competitive. I mean, how do you stay ahead of that? You know what I mean? Like, there's always somebody out there, some kid who's got the next great idea. Do you feel that pressure?
It's good pressure. It's really good pressure. It makes you want to always push the envelope and, you know, think outside the box. And it's all about also, I think a lot of times, you know, great ideas come from you networking with like-minded people, exchanging ideas, collaborating with each other. I was in Munich just last week and met with a lot of great entrepreneurs, and it's always so refreshing because to meet with people with a different background, different set of ideas, and it gets you thinking. So I think it's very positive.
You told us earlier that you came to Canada when you were 17. You grew up in Tehran. What was that like? Did you have a computer?
No, actually, I didn't have a computer, and I didn't have an email account, and I didn't know how to actually even type. So when I came here, I went to my advisor, so-called advisor at the university, and they told me, you're good at math and physics, and why don't you take comp-sci? And computer science is going to be, you know, really good. And I was always, I wanted to do space engineering or electrical engineering. Those were my two really choices that I wanted to, in terms of school. But I thought, hey, you know, this is a greater challenge because I don't know anything about computers. I don't know anything about programming. So I might as well throw myself out there and see what I can do.
So you went into university and your advisor talked you into taking computer science. And before you were out of university, you had founded BroadbandTV. Is that right?
Yes. I would say the first year was, the first year was extremely challenging because, you know, I was in school with a lot of students from other parts of the world that are, you know, they you know, have a computer, they play games, and, you know, they program and everything. They have an email account, they know how to type, you know, like the basics, you know. And there I was, you know, I couldn't afford a computer, so I remember I told my boyfriend at the time, I said, maybe I just get a keyboard. You know, that would be something I can do.
Just practice on, have a keyboard to practice on, right?
And obviously that was a joke, but and I kind of thought this is a really good challenge. I thought, you know, listen, if I can do this, then, you know, I gotta have no fear. I mean, I don't speak the language, I might as well learn the language, you know, and you know, with computer science, it's a lot about writing good algorithms, and I'm not saying that I'm the best programmer, but I was very good at problem solving. So, and I think, the second year, once I learned all the basics, then, it was really easy. And I just kind of focused on it.
Really easy, sure. Do you think maybe because that was all new to you, that you were perhaps open to seeing different ways, different pathways, different ideas that other people weren't?
I think it's always about asking questions. Right, don't accept anything. Don't accept the status quo. You hear this all the time. But for me, it was, well, I asked all sorts of questions. It was like, well, I don't understand this, why, and it wasn't so much about going to the classes and reading the material, the books or the notes. For me, I was always looking at other sources of information, whether if it was classes from like other schools or if it was other books. I think what school really taught me was to learn how to teach yourself things. And I don't think once you get out of school, you got to stop that. You got to continuously, be willing to learn new things every day and, do research and, and push yourself.
Is that something then that you would also tell anybody who would perhaps want to work at BroadbandTV or employees in general, is it don't ever stop learning?
Yeah, don't stop ever. Absolutely. I mean, you gotta always, push yourself and be willing to learn and educate yourself. And we have people, at BroadbandTV that don't even have a university degree, and they're, some of the most intelligent people part of the team.
It's a matter of learning, right? And
yeah, because they challenged themselves when they were in high school, and they taught themselves how to learn things.
Did you ever have to deal with somebody who didn't buy into the vision, or was some kind of an obstacle, or just said, you know what, you're crazy, that's never going to work? I mean, how do you deal with adversity?
Yeah, I mean, investors, I would say, is the toughest, and they don't. I think it's, a lot of people, they disagree with you, a lot of people. I would say it started probably with my parents. They said, well, what is this project of yours? Because I wanted to say, hey, listen, I was in school, maybe I kind of parked this and I started the company. And I'm coming from a Persian family. My father was not fully supportive of that. And I'm not advising this. Everyone's school is amazing and you should stay in school and you should finish school. I'm not suggesting that at all. But, you look at Steve Jobs, you look at Bill Gates. I mean, these are great examples of people out there that didn't necessarily finish school. And my father told me, listen, you're not Steve Jobs, so get your degree and go finish school. But with that, I took actually a year off school, and I went and started writing the business model, and I had a great prof at school, and he wasn't even in our department, computer science. He was a commerce professor, e-commerce, Ron Sanvitelli, great guy, and they didn't let me actually take a course with him because he was in commerce and it was a 400 level course. And I went and I said, listen, I really want to work with you. Can we go and convince the dean so I can get,
so
working with you?
No for an answer.
Yeah, never did take no for an answer. I said, we'll make this happen. I mean, this is not like a big challenge, right? So we went and, so I started working on this paper and did some studies and, kind of started BroadbandTV. And then while I was in summertime, I went and I finished school. So that was kind of how.
I'm just trying to add it all up. Like, when did you sleep?
I mean, you get
whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. So you were studying computer science, which was completely new to you. You were starting up a new company, and then you decided, I need some business experience too, so I'm going to just head over to the other faculty and see if they'll help me out with that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, there was a professor that was very good. I went and I sat in a few different courses because, I don't think that you should, go sit in, other classes, try out different professors, see who you actually connect with, right? This professor I connected with because he started his own company previously, right? And he was all about, what's going to happen next? What are the new business models? So I really connected with him. It was more about the application of the tech. And even if you can't take the course for the sake of a degree, just go and take the class and enjoy it and learn. I think this was the biggest thing I think I got out of going to school.
All right, we'll have more with Shahrzad Rafati as soon as we come back. All right, welcome. You are listening to the CEO series. We are at the Beedie School of Business at SFU. It's brought to you by our friends at Fortis BC, and our guest is the CEO of BroadbandTV, Shahrzad Rafati. You've been telling us some great stories, and just do you ever slow down?
I hope not. Oh my God, no.
I actually meant to be relaxed, but I guess not. That's a no. So.
Oh, I think I don't like. I always got to work on something, and I think it's about enjoying life.
All right. So where do you see BroadbandTV in the next 5 or 10 years?
I want BroadbandTV to become as strong and powerful as Viacom. That's what I want us to build, and out of Vancouver. So and I think that there's a lot of work that we need to do. I mean, we've done a great job in terms of building great tech and a distribution network, but there are many other things that we need to do in order to achieve that goal.
Okay, so what's next for you then? Where do you go? Do you have a list? Do you know where you're going? Do you see the plan in your head?
Yes, there's a vision, and that vision is communicated with the team. So it's both organic and also by acquisition, both.
Did you know what you wanted the culture at your company to be? You talk about the kind of employees that you like, but I mean, it was a big leap that you took when you started to grow, but did you know what you were looking for, or is that something that developed as the company grew?
I think with respect to the culture, I always wanted to make sure that we create a platform where everybody has a voice. It's not about just the CEO and the founder being an entrepreneur. It's about everybody being entrepreneurial in what they do. It's about giving everybody a voice and creating an environment where they can communicate that, right? No fear, again, no fear of making mistakes, no fear of communicating, your thoughts, and we have to constantly work on that, because it's very different if there's only the 2 of you, or 3 or 5 or 10. You have 150 people. How can you not create the same platform and maintain that quality of communication? So we constantly work on new ways, and I'm not saying that we're perfect, we're far from it, but we definitely want to get there, right? And we definitely want to, have this platform that allows for people to express their creativity. And I think a lot of times you have people that may not think that they're as creative, but then you put them in the right situation, you push them a bit, and they just, they just blossom. So
was that hit and miss too, though? Were there people who were telling you, no, you have to do it this way. This is how companies grow. I mean, it wasn't a traditional business model, right? And how did you break out of that box? I
think, there you need to have the right board, and you need to have a board that has trust in you and your leadership style. Because I think the minute that you start messing with the entrepreneur's mojo, things are not going to work out. And I have been extremely successful having a very, very strong and supportive board. This is from the beginning where, I keep talking about, I've written about Hamid Shubazi. He's another local entrepreneur. He started InfoTouch, which is now TO Networks. He was, one of the initial angel investors, and, he really believed in, I would say, me as the entrepreneur, and not so much about the methods or ways that I go about doing things. And, he said, hey, go and do your thing, and, you're going to make mistakes, and, just make sure you learn from it. And that was probably, the greatest lesson that I learned from him, to have no fear.
Okay, well, how key was the business plan? You said you wrote that up while you were still studying, right? While you were still in school. How key was that, do you think, to getting those initial angel investors? Because you'll talk to some CEOs who said they've never done that, they don't do that, and yet for some, it's absolutely critical to their success. How was it for you? I don't think you're going to like my response, but, I don't think anyone read the business plan that I wrote, because, and it's good, I think it's a good practice to write the business plan, because, it gives you clarity. You start asking yourself questions. So then you think about the vision, you think about the marketplace, you think about the team, you think about the product. This is very important. But I think at the end of the day, the angels are investing in you. So you can give them, a thick business plan, and they may read like the executive summary, the 2 pages, and they say, yes, good, it's very good, and, go ahead. And I'm now being on the other side of the table, as an investor in a lot of startups today, I do the same thing. I invest in entrepreneurs, and I invest in, markets that I understand and products that I, believe in. It's not so much about, reading up a long business plan. So what do you look for then?
I invest in entrepreneurs that leverage tech to apply tech in across many different industries. Mainly, it's it's you know, kind of media, or it's you know, exactly, you know, kind of and consumer products that, you know, kind of people that they can interact with from apps or what have you.
Do you think that we as consumers sometimes underestimate sort of the power of the money that is involved in the internet, that is out there? I mean, even if we're just browsing and clicking on things, somebody's making money off that somewhere, right? Do we, right. That's a lot of it just going on behind the scenes.
Right. No, certainly. I agree, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential out there, would you see? Like, where is the next frontier?
I think there's a lot of capital, you know, out there available, and I think this is a really good area for high tech still. So I think, you know, really leveraging tech and applying it in, you know, different ways. You know, it could be whichever industry that you're passionate about. It's lots and lots of capital. Like, I think, you know, green technology is one. I think, you know, again, when you look at media. Tech there's a big part. Yeah, you know.
What advice would you give to someone then who might be in school and have what they think is the next big idea? What would you tell them?
I would say, you know, do your homework. The same way that investors look at you, you look at, you know, kind of understand the actual landscape, understand who are the best angel investors, who are the best VCs for you, the, you know, growth equity funds. You do the same homework. I mean, if they're looking at you and looking at your business plan, you look at their portfolio and see why they could be the right match for you. If you want to make your business to be an international business, then go and find an investor that can actually help you build an you know, infrastructure internationally. If you want to get to profitability, go and look at an investor that actually has invested in companies that got them to profitability. If you want an investor that is, you know, has got a high risk portfolio and it's about growth and, you know, kind of being like, you know, really investing in you being a market leader, then go and find the right investor, right? And I think more importantly, know that, you know, you kind of, when you get an investor on board, it's kind of like marriage. You know, you really are getting in bed, and you really need to know who the investor is, like in terms of culture, right? And making sure that there's the right fit. It's not just about capital, it's about smart money, and it's about making sure that they're the right fit for you.
You must have people, though, coming up to you all the time telling you that they've got the next big thing and they need your help. How do you deal with that, the demands on your time?
I would say that, you know, we kind of have a group of entrepreneurs where, you know, we, you know, bounce ideas. I mean, you know, we kind of share some of the decks that we get and ideas that we get pitched. And I think, you know, it's important for you to have more than, you know, one, you know, investor as an angel. You want to have a few that bring different things to the table. So I always try to invest with, you know, a few of my other friends that bring other things to the table to make sure that the entrepreneur is going to become more and more successful.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being here today. It has been absolutely illuminating. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much. A pleasure being here. Thanks so much. Thank you.
CKNW's Chief Executive Series is presented by Fortis BC, energy solutions for every customer.